and this made a big difference. The most important thing was, naturally, the excellent leadership of Martala and Ehnruth, and the extremely fierce and tough battle fought by our valiant warriors in Siiranmäki.
In Kuuterselkä, some 20 kilometers west of Siiranmäki, the enemy broke through the VT line. Major General Laagas was ordered to start a counter-offensive and recapture the lost positions. These battles were the fiercest ever fought in Finland.
Yeah, well, when we were on the outskirts of the village, Leikola, that's where we met some men from the units that had retreated from the VT line when it broke. And they were in quite a defeated mood, and when they saw our assault guns, they said, well, this may be pretty big, but the Russians have much bigger ones. You just come away from there. But that didn't in any way affect our men and Jaegers, not in the slightest. We were more like laughing and saying, well, you certainly have lost your faith. We just said to them, well, why are you running like that? There's nothing to worry about. I mean, we'll just stop them right there. And we didn't say this just to these deserters. It was also about increasing our own strength and believing that we were better. We'd never experienced that kind of clatter before.
You
could see by their looks who were the deserters and who had a real reason. I stopped and asked them where they were headed, and then when they answered, I said, just come with me, get into the car.
The Finnish strength was not sufficient to repel the enemy in Kuuterselkä. The VT line was broken for good. Viipuri was lost after a short battle on June the 20th. At the same time, the Finnish forces received an appeal from the Commander-in-Chief, Marshal Mannerheim, to defend the VKT line with all their strength.
The situation was very serious. Also, the auxiliary service women had to work in extremely difficult conditions, subject to enemy planes' fire immediately behind the front line. Taking care of the dead bodies, treating the wounded, and manning many communication centers were the responsibilities of the auxiliary service women. Well, the longest period that I have anesthetized patients was 36 hours in a row. After that, they told me I could go to bed, and then in 2 hours' time, they came to wake me up again for treatment duties. The roads of the Karelia Isthmus were again filled with unprotected evacuees. Helping these tens of thousands of women, children, and elderly people was left to the auxiliary service.
Already, on June the 20th, the enemy attacked on the northeast side of Viipuri, supported by strong units of tanks, air force, and artillery. The strengthened 18th Division of Major General Paalu countered the Russian attacks. The crossroads of Portinhoika was one of the key areas. From there, the roads went two ways, via Juustila to Lappeenranta and via Ihantala to Antrea. Two Finnish divisions were on their way to the isthmus. Now, everything depended on whether they would make it in time. The enemy was crushingly overwhelming on the 15-kilometer broad front. The heavy battles of the next days were conducted in Tali and Portinhoika areas.
Jatkuva koulutus ja tämän
The continuous training and teaching of attack technique. This meant that the boys were getting used to the idea of attacking. It was in their blood. It was in their blood, and it was easy because they knew this attacking business now so well. Well, since 1942. The Armoured Division was in training since 1942, well, with the exception of a few frontline missions. The division was extremely well trained. and a very disciplined formation.
kurinalainen porukka. Sitä paitsi
Besides,
jääkärijoukoilla
by then, the Jaeger units had already had a bit better reputation than, if you'll pardon the expression, just the regular soldier.
The Finnish defense suffered breaks which they pushed back by counterattacks. Again, Laugos's tanks and Jaegers were needed. The Portinhoikka crossing was recaptured by a fierce counterattack of the Armored Division battle group. Several Russian tanks were destroyed. Again, some more time was gained.
It was a terrible-looking place. I've never seen anything like it, and I don't think I ever will. I even saw that battleground in my dreams. It was like Dürer's pictures. There were piles of bodies. There were Finnish bodies piled in a big stack. There were destroyed Russian tanks, out of which half-burnt bodies were hanging. I tell you, it was an unbelievable scene.
A strong enemy force from the Tali area was pushing forward east of Leitimojärvi towards Ihantala. The enemy attack planes, Stormoviks, conducted continuous attacks on Finnish positions and logistic routes.
Ja silloin maataistelukoneet hyökkäsivät.
Then the tactical bombers attacked, and well, since I was riding my horse, I rolled down from the saddle and on into a ditch. I couldn't take the horse with me. The way the planes came, 8 to 10 of them, first they made a circle, and from there they attacked us one by one. But they didn't have much of an effect, at least not on us. The infantrymen in the battle stations and the artillery fire observers were not very much affected by the planes. But when the supply convoys or troops were moving on the roads, well, the tactical bombers had quite a nasty effect.
Ja se radisti vanhan koulutuksensa mukaan.
Well, then this radio operator started, based on his earlier training, to repeat the receiver call sign, like, this is brainy Swede, hurry. This is brainy Swede, hurry. Well, this went on and on. I figured that we'll get blown sky high before that message got through, so I got fed up with this chanting, and I said, well, inappropriately, I mean, this is the simple Finnish radio operator. As a result of this, he got mad, and then we could hardly stay in that hole together. But I told him, send that message first.
At the very last moment, the badly depleted and tired 18th Division received help from the 11th Division of Major General Heiskanen. The Armored Division and the 11th Division continued fierce fighting north of Tali. The plan was to cut the enemy rear connections and surround and destroy the Russian Guards' 30th Army of more than 30,000 men. This operation, however, was beyond the Finnish troops' strength. For example, in the fierce counterattacks of the end of June, the Lagos Jaeger Brigade strength had diminished to 300 men, less than 10% of the original number.
On the 27th of June, when I was wounded, at that time there were some 40 men left in each company as a result of the Tallinmylly counterattack. Can you believe it? Only 40 men left. Well, that outfit, they'd really been run over by a steel roller. What was left of it was fighting on the Konkola Hills. It was a confused and unorganized bunch from different regiments, and I just joined them as a rifleman because, well, I had no chance whatsoever to act as an artillery fire observer. The sergeant left me there to secure what was happening, and I saw how they attacked on the high Murokallio, and the Russians started to retreat, not being able to get to the hill. All of a sudden, this sergeant fired a burst from behind my back, and I had time to wonder why he was shooting.